The hall was already full when she stepped inside, but it did not feel welcoming. It felt heavy. Rows of seats stretched far back, filled with people who had come expecting something impressive, something loud, something easy to recognize. Soft lights hung above the stage, glowing like distant moons. The grand piano waited at the center, polished and still, as if it had been holding its breath all evening. She stood near the side for a moment, hands folded, shoulders relaxed but tight at the same time. She took in the sound of low chatter, quiet laughter, the rustle of programs. No one was looking at her, and somehow that was familiar. She had learned long ago how to exist in that space present, yet unseen. Her path to this stage had not been smooth or celebrated. It had been shaped by early mornings and late nights, by rooms where the heat barely worked, and keys that stuck when pressed too hard. She practiced in places where the walls were thin and the floor creaked, where mistakes echoed louder than success. There were days when she wondered if anyone would ever hear her play, the way she heard it in her heart. But she kept going, not because someone told her she was special, not because praise followed her. She kept going because music had become the one place where she felt honest, where she didn't have to explain herself. Tonight was just another room, another piano, another chance that might pass quietly. When her turn came, there was no dramatic announcement, no story told to make the crowd care. A simple nod from the side, a gesture toward the stage. She walked out slowly. Her steps were calm, but inside, her thoughts moved fast. She felt the wide space around her, the distance between herself and the people watching. She could sense their expectations forming, thin and uncertain. Some leaned back in their seats. Some checked their phones. Others watched politely, with the look people wear when they are waiting to be convinced. She did not blame them. She reached the piano bench and adjusted it slightly, just enough to feel grounded. Her fingers hovered over the keys, not touching yet. For a brief moment, the noise in the room softened. The lights above seemed warmer now. The piano smelled faintly of wood and polish, a familiar scent that settled her nerves. She closed her eyes in that quiet pause. Memories came without asking. She remembered the first time she touched a piano, how strange the keys felt under small fingers. She remembered being told to play softer, then stronger, then not at all. She remembered being overlooked, passed by, told she was good, but not remarkable. She remembered walking home in the rain after performances where no one stayed long enough to speak to her. Those moments had hurt, but they had also taught her something important. They taught her patience. She placed her hands on the keys. The first notes came out gently, almost shy. A simple melody, clear and slow. It was the kind of tune that didn't demand attention. It didn't rush forward. It just existed. A few people shifted in their seats. The sound moved through the hall like a quiet breath. Nothing flashy, nothing sharp. Just a steady line of music, soft enough that it invited listening rather than forcing it. The notes felt careful, like someone walking across thin ice. Some in the audience wondered if this was it. If this was all she had brought. She could feel that doubt without seeing it. She had felt it her whole life. It had followed her into practice rooms, into small competitions, into conversations that ended too quickly. Doubt had become a shadow she learned to walk beside. Her fingers moved slowly, pressing each key with intention. There was control in her playing, but also restraint. She held back, letting the melody breathe. She allowed space between notes, trusting silence as much as sound. The piano answered her touch faithfully. A few heads tilted, a few eyes lifted from laps. The tune was simple, but there was something steady about it, something honest. It did not rush to impress. It did not try to show off. It felt like someone speaking carefully, choosing words with care. She stayed with that feeling. Inside, she was counting, not numbers, but moments. Listening to the room, listening to herself, she knew this beginning mattered. It was not just an opening. It was a test of trust. Could she trust the music to carry her where she needed to go? Her shoulders eased as she played. The nerves that had tightened her chest slowly loosened. The piano was no longer an object on a stage. It became a familiar companion, one that understood her without explanation. The audience grew quieter, not silent, but attentive. People began to lean forward without realizing it. Conversations stopped. Even those who had planned to listen politely and leave early found themselves staying still. The melody did not ask for their attention, yet somehow it held it. She felt that shift like a change in air pressure. Her face remained calm. No dramatic expressions, no gestures meant to perform emotion. Everything she felt stayed inside her hands, flowing into the keys. Each note carried years of quiet effort, of being told to wait, to improve. To be patient, she was not trying to prove anything yet. She was telling the truth. Slowly, the tune repeated, but not exactly the same. Small changes appeared, gentle turns that hinted at something deeper. The music felt like a story just beginning to open. Like a door left slightly ajar, a few people noticed. They couldn't say what had changed, only that it had. The notes seemed to linger longer now. The spaces between them felt meaningful, not empty. It was as if the melody was thinking before it spoke. She kept her eyes closed. In that darkness, she felt grounded. The hall disappeared. The seats, the lights, the expectations all faded. There was only sound and memory moving together. She remembered nights when she practiced while others slept. When her fingers hurt but she played anyway. When she questioned whether quiet effort ever led anywhere. Those thoughts used to weigh her down. Tonight, they lifted her. Her playing grew more confident, though still soft. The melody deepened. It did not grow louder, but it grew fuller. The piano seemed to respond with a richer voice, as if it too had been waiting. The audience felt it now. Not excitement. Not shock. Something quieter, respect. They were no longer waiting for her to fail or surprise them. They were listening because they wanted to understand where the music was going. The room felt connected in a way it hadn't moments before. She sensed that connection and stayed steady. She did not rush toward the peak. She knew that the power of this moment came from control, from patience, from allowing the music to unfold at its own pace. Her hands moved with ease now, guided by instinct rather than thought. The melody wrapped around the hall, filling it gently, like light spreading at dawn. Still, she held back. She knew what she was capable of, but this was not the time. The final notes of the opening section softened again, returning to near silence. The melody settled, as if resting. Her fingers hovered above the keys once more. For a brief moment, there was nothing. No sound. No movement. The hall held its breath. She opened her eyes slowly, staring at the keys beneath her hands. Her reflection stared back from the polished surface of the piano.com, focused, unreadable. The audience waited. They did not clap. They did not speak. They waited. I'm sure why they felt so certain that something else was coming, and she sat there, perfectly still with a quiet knowing in her chest. This was only the beginning. The silence did not feel empty. It felt alive. It was the kind of silence that made people aware of their own breathing. The kind that settled into the room and stayed there, calm but alert, like it was waiting for something important to happen. She sat very still on the bench, her hands resting just above the keys. They were close enough to touch, yet not moving. The piano waited with her. The hall waited too. No one shifted in their seat. No one cleared their throat, even the small. Sounds that usually filled spaces like this seemed to disappear. The lights above the stage felt softer now, warmer somehow, as if they were paying attention. She could feel her heartbeat, steady but strong. Not fast, not panicked, just present. She took one slow breath, letting it fill her chest, then gently let it go. Her shoulders relaxed, then her fingers moved. This time, the sound that came out of the piano was different. It was deeper, fuller, stronger. The melody did not step into the room the way it had before. It did not ask quietly to be noticed. It walked forward with purpose. There was still control in her hands, still care in every note, but the holding back was gone. The notes flowed faster now. Not rushed, not careless. They moved like they knew exactly where they were going. Something shifted in the room. It was not loud. It was not sudden. But it was clear. A quiet energy spread through the seats. People who had leaned forward earlier now froze in place. Those who had doubted at the start no longer questioned what they were hearing. Their faces changed without them realizing it. The music had crossed a line. It was no longer asking for permission. Her hands moved with confidence, rising and falling across the keys. The piano seemed to wake up beneath her touch, as if it had been waiting for this exact moment. Each note sounded clear. Each sound felt alive. The melody twisted and turned, sometimes gentle, sometimes bold, but always honest. There was no showing off, no empty speed, no noise for attention, just truth. Inside her chest, something opened. It felt like a door she had kept closed for years, slowly swinging wide. The weight she had carried for so long began to lift. The quiet waiting, the moments of being ignored. The times she was told to keep it simple, to stay small, to not expect too much. All of it found a place inside the music. Not as anger, not as sadness, but as strength. The tune grew richer with every phrase. The soft beginning now felt like a memory, a narrow road that had led her here. The music swelled, filling the hall with warmth and intensity. It wrapped around the audience, reaching places words never could. It was not loud just to be loud. It was powerful because it was true. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes burned with focus. She leaned slightly toward the piano, fully present, fully connected. There was no fear left now, no second-guessing, no quiet voice asking if she was good enough. Only trust. Trust in her hands. Trust in the music. Trust in herself. The audience felt it deeply. Some felt a tightness in their chests they could not explain. It came out of nowhere, unexpected and strong. Others felt their eyes grow warm, surprised by emotion they did not plan to feel. A few held their breath without even noticing, caught between one note and the next. No. One looked away. The music spoke in a way words could not. It told a story of effort without applause, of growth without praise, staying when it would have been easier to walk away. It carried the weight of quiet persistence, showing up again and again when no one was watching, believing when there was no proof. Her hands moved faster now, dancing across the keys with ease. The piano rang out, bright and alive. Melody climbed higher, then dipped low, like waves rising and falling against the shore. She was no longer thinking, she was feeling. Every part of her moved with the music. Her shoulders followed the rhythm, her breathing matched the flow of the notes. Her heart beat steady and strong. This was the sound she had carried inside her. For so long, waiting patiently for the right moment to let it go. And now that moment had come. The hall felt smaller now, more intimate. The distance between the stage and the seats disappeared. It no longer felt like a performer and an audience. It felt like one shared experience. Everyone was inside the same moment, connected by sound. The music reached a turning point. There was a sudden shift, a pause just long enough to create tension. It's the kind of pause that makes people lean in without realizing it. The kind that fills the room with anticipation. Then came a bold run of notes. Bright, fearless, free. The piano sang under her hands and she let it. She did not pull back. She did not soften it. She trusted it completely. Some in the audience felt chills run down their arms. Others felt their hearts race. A few smiled without knowing why. This was no longer just a performance. It was a release. She poured everything into the keys, not forcefully, not aggressively, but fully. Each note landed with meaning. Each sound carried weight. The years of doubt no longer hurt when she touched them through the music. They had shaped her. They had strengthened her. They had prepared her. The melody surged, strong and clear, filling every corner of the hall. The piano's voice rose and echoed, wrapping around the listeners like a powerful wave. It lifted them, carried them, held them there. And then, slowly, she began to guide it back. The intensity softened. It did not disappear, it settled. Like fire calming into a steady glow, the notes grew gentler again. The music breathed. It reflected. It remembered where it had started. Her hands slowed. The piano followed her lead, offering a quiet, steady sound. The melody returned to simplicity, but it was no longer fragile. It was confident. It was sure. The softness now carried depth. The final notes approached. She played them carefully, giving each one space, letting them ring, letting them stay. The last chord hung in the air, warm and full, like it did not want to leave. Then she lifted her hands. Silence followed. For a moment, no one moved. The hall held the sound even after it was gone, as if it refused to let it fade. People looked at one another, unsure whether to breathe, unsure whether the moment had truly ended. The quiet felt sacred. She sat still, eyes lowered, hands resting in her lap. Her heart still beat strong, but calm. Then someone stood. Then another, then another. Applause rose slowly at first, like distant rain, soft, careful. Then it grew louder, stronger, filling the space where the music had been. People clapped not out of habit, not out of politeness. They clapped out of feeling. Some smiled openly. Some wiped at their eyes, surprised by tears they did not expect. Many simply stared at her, trying to understand what they had just experienced. She stood and bowed once, simply, no dramatic gestures, no attempt to stretch the moment. She accepted the applause with quiet gratitude, not pride. As she stepped away from the piano, the clapping followed her. It did not feel overwhelming. It did not feel unreal. It felt right. Backstage, the noise softened, but the feeling stayed. The hallway was quiet, cool, and still. She paused for a moment, resting her hand against the wall. Her heart still raced, but it felt steady, grounded. She felt lighter than she had in years, not because she had proven something to others, but because she had stayed true to herself. She thought about the version of herself who practiced alone, the one who wondered if it mattered, the one who kept going without knowing why. She wished she could speak to that person now. She would tell her this: quiet effort is never wasted. Patience has its own power. The door to the hall remained open, letting the sound of fading applause drift through. She listened, not to the noise, but to what it meant. She had been heard, not because she demanded attention, not because she followed expectations, but because she trusted her voice. As the applause slowly faded away, she took one last breath and walked forward, carrying the music with her not as a memory, but as a reminder. Some moments begin softly, and when they are true, they end by changing everything.